Welcome to this week's Cattle Call. I'm Susan Littlefield. Demand, where are we at? And is there some good positives? That's where we're going to start because there's been a lot of struggles as we've seen within this cattle market. And we're going to bring Brad Kooima on, as you can see him on the screen, to talk first off on demand because we know there's issues in the boxes. We know there's issues with the weights, but we got to start on a positive note for these cattle guys, Brad.
Hey, it works for me. One of the one of the things that's been extraordinary, and you take that, to your demand question all the way back to last summer, where we were in a virtual lockdown, across most of the country. We were all wondering, right? How's this going to shape up? The old rule of thumb, 65-35 retail to hotel restaurant trade. We saw them move that needle in a dramatic way where, we saw tremendous retail demand for beef as the consumer seemed to find out that, I can cook a steak myself and it's really quite good. And maybe it's even better than what I can buy at some restaurants. So, as we move forward now, the domestic demand, first of all, just to spend a few minutes on, or just a little bit on that. Okay, I don't know what it's like by you, but it's beautiful here up here, even up in Northwest Iowa. And we're going to move toward warmer weather, right? It's March. You've got our President Biden promising that we'll have 300 million vaccines available by May. Well, that's almost the whole country. You've got a couple of states that already completely opened everything, right? Texas and Missouri, I believe you told me off air. So as you move toward reopening and having the restaurant trade, and already, I think, having trained our consumer that they can cook a steak too, I would say that, the domestic demand, as good as it is going to get even better moving forward. So then you also want to talk about what about international or exports? Well, the export sales that we've had year to date for the first 2 months of the year that we have data on are on pace to be, the first 2 months are a record, an all-time record. So we'll see how that shakes out too. So the demand side of the market is one that gives us a fair bit of optimism, Susan, for sure.
Well, you talk about demand and what we're seeing from not only the grocery stores, but restaurants that are starting to open up. Is that the reason why we continue to see such higher numbers, box beef-wise, compared to what the cattleman's getting paid?
Yeah, an old guy told me one time years ago when I started, and now I'm the old guy, so I'll say it. You think about, supply demand. Sure, I get it. We heard that in high school and college econ 101, right? So, but what does that really mean in the beef? Because last time I checked, we don't throw any of this away, right? It's how much can you move at a price, all right? And everybody says, "Oh, we got big supplies," and we do. We've got big supplies, but how? What's your measure of demand? Not only do you have big supplies, and I know we've talked about this on this program before, but we've got record grade right now. In other words, more choice as a percentage of the kill than we've ever had, and yet choice select spreads out there at pretty big levels. So not only are we producing a lot of it, and we're producing a lot of choice. Clearly, there's super demand for it because the price level is very high. Now, if we could just share that a little in the yard, right?
Yeah.
We're going to mark another week of steady at 114. Obviously, I'm unimpressed. It's likely that the next move on the box beef is probably going to be a little lower seasonally that time of year. Okay. When that happens, you are killing big last week and this week, so you're going to put a lot of stuff into the pipeline. I don't mean to suggest at all that we got a problem with it. That's just the normal course of things. And I guess I thought I would play a little offense. If the Packers going to tell you that, oh shucks, the box beef was down $4, I'm going to say it doesn't seem like that really matters, or we're getting paid in the feedlot anyway.
Is there concerns about the weights right now?
Well, I'm starting to wonder when they're going to come down. Well, I've said that more than once with you. The daily weights. So every 13 days, we get the actual total comprehensive all the weights. We're working on that, right? We passed some stuff at the NCBA level that's asking the USDA to make same day weights or the next day weights, just like they do with the hog industry. We're not there yet. It's taken longer than I'd like. But my point is, so tomorrow on Thursdays, this comes out, it's 13 days old. I'm really curious to see what those weights did. That would be the week of the problem, a storm in the south. And I keep thinking, when weather notwithstanding, the cost of gain here is if you've got a finished steer, the cost of gain is more than $1.14. With 5.5, in some places it's $6.50 corn in the deep south. That usually incentivizes everyone to get pretty current. So I'd like to think here in the next time we talk next week or two that we'll be talking about, wow, these weights finally dropped a long ways, right? And we're finally below a year ago. I hope so. Tomorrow will give us a little bit of a clue, I think, Susan.
Is April oversold?
Yes, 6 consecutive down days. Stochastics down there in the buy region. We had the deferreds having a nice rally today. I think you're starting to get more people that are starting to understand the long-term fundamentals of less cattle and improving demand. Putting COVID behind us. But April cattle is oversold. We already sold off almost $8, and we're still a bit of a premium to cash, which I don't think is a big deal. That we're a little bit of premium to cash. Let's get this cash to catch up to us once instead of having to drag the futures down to the board level.
Well, finally, as you look into this next week, what's the key thing our cattle guys need to remember?
Well, I guess maybe a little discipline in the sale barn wouldn't hurt. I'm surprised what the feeder cattle continue to bring. Not that I'm rooting against these guys that are selling feeder cattle either, of course, but I think what I would be sensitive to what seems to me is a further deterioration of the resolve by the independent cattle feeder to go ahead and move toward, okay, I'm going to make a deal too because I'm sick of fighting this deal, and I'm going to take some basis deal for whatever time frame. And I get it, you got to do what it takes to survive, but let's see if we can't bow our neck a little bit. They got plenty of margin. Let's see if we can't maybe get just a little bit of our leverage back so we can share some of them.
All right, thanks so much. Brad Kooima has been joining us for this week's Cattle Call.